The concept of BRICS began to take shape in early 2000s, reflecting the growing realization that the global economical landscape was shifting. In 2001, Jim O'Neill, a prominent economist at Goldman Sachs, coined the term BRIC to capture the emergence of four rapidly growing economies: Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Individually, these countries represented a major regional power with significant economic potential. Together, they symbolized the rising importance of emerging markets and the gradual erosion of Western economical dominance. However, BRIC was initially just an economic forecast, not a formal alliance. That changed with a global financial crisis of 2008, which exposed the vulnerabilities of Western-led financial systems. Recognizing the need for collective action, the leaders of these four nations decided to convene and formalize their cooperation. In 2009, they held the first official BRICS summit in Yekaterinburg, Russia, marking the birth of a new coalition. This gathering signaled a deliberate attempt by a member nation to challenge an existing international order and advocate for reform in global governance institutions. BRIC was not merely a reaction to the 2008 financial crisis, but a deliberate effort to rethink global governance framework. It sought to complement existing systems by advancing an inclusive model built on equality among members, respect for sovereignty, consensus-based decision-making, and non-interference in the internal affairs. This approach reflects the coalition's commitment to cooperation across divergent political and economical systems. China's state-directed economy, India's democracy, Russia's resource-based markets, and Brazil's social development focus. The key element of BRICS diplomacy is non-interference, ensuring that no member can impose political condition on others, in contrast to government model that links economical support with political reform. While this principle has strengthened mutual trust, the reliance on consensus-based decision-making has introduced challenges, particularly in navigating geopolitical and economical issues where national priorities diverge. From the outset, BRIC positioned itself as a platform for dialogue on reforming institutions like the IMF, World Bank, and the United Nations, advocating for a greater representation for emerging economies rather than opposing the existing order. BRIC aimed to complement it by ensuring a fair distribution of influence across global institutions, focusing on infrastructure development, trade partnership, and sustainable growth. The inclusion of South Africa in 2010 expanded BRICS' geopolitical reach, adding an essential African perspective to the coalition's vision of a global cooperation. This early phase laid the foundation for BRICS' evolutionary identity, a coalition rooted in collaboration, equality, and mutual respect, offering a framework for diverse nations to engage constructively on shared global challenges. The evolution of BRIC has been shaped by a distinct leadership style of its key figures, each bringing a unique priorities that influences the coalition's trajectory. At the forefront was Lula da Silva of Brazil, whose vision emphasizes social development and South-to-South cooperation. Lula viewed BRIC not only as an economical platform, but also as an opportunity to promote equity among developing nations. His leadership placed poverty reduction and inclusive growth at the center of the group's early initiative. Russia's leadership under Dmitry Medvedev aligned with the coalition's early focus on building partnership, but with under Vladimir Putin, that BRICS became a strategic tool for advancing Russia's geopolitical interest. With the growing tension between Russia and the West, Putin saw BRIC as a way to diversify alliance and engage with countries outside the traditional power bloc. Russia's participation reflects focus on energy diplomacy and regional influences through multinational engagements. Meanwhile, Chinese leadership evolved from Hu Jintao's cautious engagement to Xi Jinping's assertive strategy. Under Xi, China has positioned BRIC as a vehicle for economic expansion, aligning the group's agenda with China's largest initiative, such as Belt and Road Initiative. Xi's focus on infrastructure investment and trade diplomacy has deepened China's influences within the group, making it a key driver in the BRICS financial initiative. In India, the transition from Singh to Narendra Modi marked a shift in the country's strategy within BRICS. Modi's leadership reflected India's multi-alignment policy, balancing engagement within BRICS with strategic partners in the Indo-Pacific. India's participation has focused on economic cooperation while carefully navigating the tension with China and maintaining its relationship with the Western powers. Each leader's approach has introduced a new dynamic to the coalition, influencing the direction of BRICS as their domestic and foreign policy evolved. Collectively, BRIC countries represent a significant share of global economy. Together, they account for over 37% of global GDP and nearly 40% of the world's population, making them an economic force with the potential to rival traditional Western powers. Their natural resources, endowments, and market size allow BRICS to exert considerable influences in key industries such as energy, manufacturing, and technology. China, as the largest economy within the coalition, plays a pivotal role in driving BRICS economy engine and contributing more than 70% of the group's total GDP. Meanwhile, India stands as a major hub for information technology and services, and Russia continues to dominate the energy exports. However, economic disparities between members present a significant challenge. China's economic dominance often makes it difficult for other members, such as South Africa and Brazil, to match its influence, leading to a tension around decision-making and policy alignment. Additionally, intra-BRICS trade remains limited due to logistical challenges, high tariffs, and policy mismatch across member nations. Each country prioritizes its own national interest, which sometimes creates a barrier to deep economic integration. Despite these hurdles, the group have significant opportunity to unlock. By increasing intra-BRICS trade and focusing on infrastructure development through initiatives such as the New Development Bank, the coalition can enhance connectivity and expand economical cooperation. Investment in technology, green energy, and sustainable development also offers a new avenue for growth, enable BRICS to position itself as a leader in an emerging market of the future. Realizing these opportunities will require a great coordination and policy alignment across member nations, but the potential rewards for both the coalition and the world economy is immense. The New Development Bank, established in 2015, has envisioned as an alternative to the Western-led financial institution such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Its creation reflects BRICS' desire to provide a new source of financing for infrastructure and development projects without a political condition often attached to loans from the IMF. The NDB aims to promote a sustainable development and foster economical cooperation among member nations, providing a financial assistance tailored to the needs of emerging economies. Unlike the IMF, which is known for imposing a strict austerity measure on borrowing countries, the NDB offers a flexible lending terms designed to align with the development goals of its members. Its structure emphasizes equal voting power among founding nations, China, India, Russia, Brazil, and South Africa, ensuring that no single country has a disproportionate control over its policies. This principle contrasts with the IMF's weighted voting systems, which favors wealthier nations. However, the NDP faces a significant challenge. Its capitalization remains limited compared to the IMF and the World Bank, restricting its ability to fund large-scale projects. Expanding its influences will require a greater financial contribution from its new member in the BRICS Plus members and a strong pipeline of viable projects. Additionally, logistical and bureaucratic hurdles have slowed the bank's effort to distribute loans effectively. Despite these challenges, the NDB has made a significant stride, funding projects in renewable energy, infrastructure, and urban development. As the BRIC Plus coalition grows, the NDB has the potential to become a more powerful financial tool, providing a much-needed resources to developing countries while challenging the monopoly of traditional global financial institutions. BRICS nations have long sought to reduce their dependency on the US dollar, recognizing that the dollar's centrality in the global trade and finances grants the United States an outsized ability to influence international markets through its monetary policy and sanctions enforcement. The ambition to shift toward a local currency in the cross-border trade is not merely an economical adjustment, but a shift in strategic attempt to limit exposure to the dollar volatility and the weakening geopolitical leverage that accompanies the dollar dominance. While China has made a stride in promoting a yuan for international trade, the structural limitation of the yuan presents a significant challenge to the widespread adoption. As a non-free floating currency, the yuan is subjected to a tight control of the People's Bank of China, which intervenes in foreign exchange markets to keep the yuan undervalued, thereby boosting Chinese export. This lack of market-determined devaluation raises concern about the currency's reliability as a global reserve or a settlement currency, especially among partners like India and Brazil, who prefer a more transparent exchange mechanism. The coalition has explored alternatives such as currency swap, enabling member countries to trade bilaterally without converting through a dollar. This alignment offers a modest toward a de-dollarization, but remains limited by structural imbalances. China's dominance within the BRICS poses a challenge to smaller economies and members such as India, as a demonstrated hesitancy toward a full de-dollarization due to a concern about exchange rate stability and capital flows. The idea of common BRICS currency has also gained rhetorical tractions in recent summits, presented a long-term solution to unifying the bloc's financial transaction. However, designating such a currency would require unprecedented monetary coordination among countries with vastly different economic policies, inflation rates, and fiscal priorities. In particular, India's cautious approach reflects its need to protect domestic economic stability and avoid exchange rate risk inherent in adopting supernatural currency framework. Ultimately, the vision of BRICS currency underscore the coalition's broader ambition to recalibrate the global financial system toward a more decentralized and a multipolar model. Yet, achieving this vision will require more than a rhetorical commitment. It demands a robust, cohesive strategy to harmonize the financial policies across member and overcome structural disparities that currently hinders the greater monetary integration. Russia's position within BRICS have evolved from that of a strategic partner to an increasingly dependent actor, particularly in the aftermath of the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The imposition of Western economic sanctions, including asset freeze, export control, and restriction on Russian financial institutions, has severely constrained Russia's access to global markets. These measures effectively cut Russia off from the dollar and euro liquidity, forcing Moscow to turn toward BRICS partners as an economical lifeline and alternative diplomatic sphere. Sanctions have hit Russia's energy export, the backbone of its economy, particularly hard, with the European nation phasing out Russian oil and gas imports. In particular, Russia has shifted much of its energy trade towards China and India, offering a steep discount to keep revenue flowing. However, this pivot has exposed structural vulnerabilities of Russia's economy. The increasing dependence on yuan-dominated transaction and ruble-rupee trade agreement gives China and India significant leverage over Moscow, diminishing Russia's ability to dictate the term of trade within the BRICS framework. On the geopolitical front, Russia's war in Ukraine has strained the cohesion of BRICS, particularly India, which seeks to maintain a strategic autonomy by balancing ties with the West and Russia. While BRICS provides Moscow with a platform to counter Western narratives, Russia's diplomatic isolation limits its ability to shape the coalition's broader agenda. Instead, Russia now operates from a defensive position, using BRICS to legitimize its political relevance in the world increasingly divided along geopolitical lines. From a financial perspective, Russia's participation in the de-dollarization effort aligns with its long-term goal of weakening the economical dominance of the United States. However, the sanction regime have revealed the limit of its strategy. The ruble, after being propped up briefly through capital control and interest rate hike, have struggled to maintain stability, highlighting the challenge of decoupling from the global financial systems. The New Development Bank and the BRICS-led currency swap provide some relief, but they are insufficient to offset the magnitude of the economic isolation Russia faces. The war in Ukraine has also forced Russia to pivot its force from economical growth to a survival. The war in Ukraine has also forced Russia to pivot its focus from economical growth to a survival, with state resource being funneled toward the military-industrial complex. This militarization of the economy further deepens Russia's dependence on China, whose demand for discounted energy has become a critical revenue stream for Moscow. Yet this reliance on BRICS partnership is not without risk. China and India's cautious approach to align too closely with Russia reflects their awareness of geopolitical and economical fallout within the war. In essence, Russia's role within BRICS has shifted from that of equal partner to a nation seeking economic refuge and diplomatic relevance amidst a Western sanction. Whether Russia can continue to wield influence within the coalition will depend on its ability to adapt its foreign policy, manage its dependency on the BRICS member, and navigate the geopolitical fracture caused by its conflict with Ukraine. For now, Russia's engagement with BRICS serves as a stopgap measure, providing a temporary relief but not a long-term solution to the economic and diplomatic challenges it faces. China and India represent a twin giant of Asia, two of the world's most populous nations and the fastest growing economies. Despite their shared membership in BRICS, their bilateral relationship is characterized by deep-rooted distrust and recurring geopolitical tension. The fragility of their partnership is shaped by a complex history of conflict, unresolved border disputes, economical competition, and divergent strategic alignment. The root of India-China rivalry can be traced to 1962 Sino-India War, a conflict that saw China assert control over the Aks-Chin region and a strategic plateau linking Tibet to Xinjiang. To this day, the border between the two nations remain disputed, with both sides maintaining a military outpost along the line of actual control. Recent clashes in Ladakh and confrontation in Andhra Pradesh have underscored the persistent volatility along their shared border. These disputes are not merely territorial. They represent the broader geopolitical anxieties, with India viewing China's presence in South Asia as an encroachment on its sphere of influence. Economically, China and India are both competitors and partners. China is India's largest trading partner, yet their trade relation is marked by a significant imbalance, with India importing heavily Chinese goods while struggling to export at comparable levels. This dependency on Chinese import has been a point of contention in India, particularly in sectors such as electronics and pharmaceuticals, where reliance on Chinese manufacturing exposes vulnerabilities. India's effort to reduce its trade deficit with China through policies promoting domestic manufacturing, such as Made in India initiative, have also partly addressed these challenges. Strategically, India has pursued a policy of multi-alignment, balancing its partnership with BRICS with closer ties to Western powers through the Quad alliance, which include the United States, Japan, and Australia. This complicates India's partnership with China, as Beijing views India's engagement with the Quad as a part of large strategy to contain China's rise. Meanwhile, China's growing influence in South Asia through initiatives like China-Pakistan Economic Corridor and the Infrastructure Initiative in Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Maldives is perceived in New Delhi as an attempt to encircle India. The relationship between China and India within BRICS reflects this broader tension. While both nations stand to benefit from economical cooperation within BRIC framework, their strategic mistrust limits the depth of their partnership. India has opposed China's proposal for greater regional integration, such as the Belt and Road Initiative, citing a concern over sovereignty and China's encroachment into contested area. On the other hand, China remains weary of India's reluctance to fully embrace BRICS-led financial mechanisms such as de-dollarization, fearing that India's closer ties to Western economies could undermine the coalition's cohesion. Despite these tensions, both countries recognize the value of maintaining diplomatic channels through BRICS. The coalition offers them a platform to engage on neutral grounds away from the direct geopolitical rivalries, allowing them to coordinate on governance reform and climate initiative. Yet their fragile partnership within BRICS serves as a microcosm of their larger geopolitical balance act that defines China-India relations as an uneasy mix of competition and cooperation and cautious diplomacy. Whether China and India can overcome these hurdles and build more stable relationship will depend on their ability to de-escalate border tension, manage competition dependencies, and align their regional interests within BRICS framework. For now, their partnership remains a fragile and complex, marked by a delicate interplay of shared ambition and strategic rivalries. In 2023, the expansion of BRICS into BRICS Plus represents both an ambition leap forward and a strategic gamble. With the inclusion of 6 new members, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Argentina, the coalition has broadened its geopolitical footprint and bolstered its economical weight. However, this expansion introduces new complexities that could either enhance the group's geopolitical influence or fracture its cohesion along geopolitical fault lines. The addition of Saudi Arabia and Iran brings up valuable economical assets, especially in energy markets, but it also introduces historical rivalries. Despite recent diplomatic breakthroughs, such a China-brokered agreement, tension between two nations remain deeply rooted sectarian divides and competition and competing regional ambitions. Managing these intricacies within the BRICS Plus framework will require a careful diplomacy to prevent a long-standing conflict in Yemen, Syria, Iraq, or spilling into a coalition's internal dynamics. Similarly, the inclusion of Egypt and Ethiopia, a nation locked in a bitter dispute over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, poses a delicate challenge. The dispute centers on the access of the Nile River water resources, which are vital to both countries' economy and security. These internal conflicts underscore the difficulties BRICS Plus faces in maintaining unity while expanding into a regions with deep-seated rivalries and unresolved territorial issues. In economic terms, the expansion offers a significant opportunity. The new member collectively controlled key energy resources, strategic shipping routes, and emerging markets. Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Iran alone account for a substantial share of global oil and gas production, giving BRICS Plus increased leverage in energy diplomacy and commodity markets. However, this diversity also complicates the policy coordination. BRICS coalition has already struggled to align its original members' diverging economic and strategic priorities, and the inclusion of new members with varying political systems and regional interests adds an extra layer of complexity. For example, the UAE's pro-Western orientation contrasts sharply with Iran's anti-Western stance, creating a diplomatical friction that must be carefully managed within the group. Furthermore, expanding BRICS Plus without formal mechanism for dispute resolution or structured decision-making could weaken the coalition's effectiveness. The group's reliance on consensus-based governance while promoting equality among members also risks stalling key initiatives. The challenge will be to balance national interest with the coalition's broader goal, particularly in the areas such as infrastructure development, trade liberalization, and financial cooperation. Ultimately, the success of BRICS Plus will depend on its ability to navigate these internal tensions while leveraging the strategies of its new members. The expanded coalition must demonstrate that it can coordinate effectively across continents and integrate diverse economies and offer a compelling alternative to Western-led institutions. If it succeeds, BRICS Plus could emerge as a powerful geopolitical bloc reshaping global order, but failure to manage these challenges risks turning the coalition into a fragmented alliance unable to deliver on its ambitious vision. The inclusion of Saudi Arabia and Iran to the BRICS Plus coalition marks a bold attempt to integrate two nations with historical antagonism and divergent geopolitical ambition. Although the recent China broker rapprochement between Riyadh and Tehran has reduced tension, the relationship remains defined by competition for regional dominance and a sectarian divide, a dynamic that introduces both a risk and opportunity for BRICS Plus. The rivalry between Saudi Arabia, a Sunni-majority monarchy, and Iran, a Shia theocracy, reflects not only religious differences but also geopolitical contentions. Both nations aspire to lead the Persian Gulf, projecting influence across the Middle East. This has manifested in the series of proxy conflict, with Iran supporting actors such as the Houthi rebels in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, while Saudi Arabia backs a pro-Western government and factions in Yemen, Syria, and Iraq. The possibility of these regional tension spilling into BRICS Plus diplomacy remains a key concern for the coalition. Economically, both countries bring valuable resources to the table, particularly in the energy sector. Saudi Arabia is the cornerstone of OPEC and one of the largest oil exporters, while Iran holds a significant oil and gas reserve. These presences strengthens BRICS Plus as a player in the global energy market, enhancing the coalition's ability to influence energy prices and policies. However, this also raises the challenge of coordinating economical interests. Iran's oil export remains limited by US sanctions, and Saudi Arabia's closer ties with the Western complicates its full alignment with the BRICS-led initiative, such as de-dollarization and currency swaps with non-Western partners. Another potential area for friction lies in trade and investment policy. Saudi Arabia's vision for regional leadership reflects in its Vision 2030 initiative, which aims to diversify Saudi Arabia away from oil dependency through foreign investment and infrastructure projects. In contrast, Iran's economic strategy is constrained by sanctions, forcing it to rely heavily on China and Russia for trade and diplomatic support. These differing economical trajectories pose as a challenge for cohesive economical policy within the BRICS Plus. While BRICS Plus framework provide a platform for both countries to engage constructively, their partnership also creates a delicate diplomatic balancing act for each members. China, as the architect of these rapprochements, have vested interest in maintaining stability between the two. At the same time, India and Brazil, with their multi-alignment strategy, must tender carefully to avoid being drawn into a regional rivalry that could disrupt the coalition's progress. Ultimately, the inclusion of Saudi Arabia and Iran into the BRICS Plus reflects the coalition's ambition to expand its geopolitical reach, but also highlights the challenges of integrating historically adversarial nations. Whether the two can compartmentalize their differences and contribute meaningfully to the coalition will be a test of the BRICS Plus diplomacy. If managed successfully, their rivalries could evolve into a productive partnership, transforming BRICS Plus into a powerful platform for regional cooperation and global influence. However, unresolved tension could undermine the coalition, limiting its effectiveness and jeopardizing its broader objectives. Oil and gas play a foundational role in the global energy security, not only as a critical commodity, but also as an instrument for geopolitical influence. The world's energy market have long been dominated by a petrodollar system in which the oil is primarily traded in the US dollar. This arrangement, established in 1970 between the United States and Saudi between the United States and Saudi Arabia solidifies the dollar's status as a global reserve currency, links the energy trade to American financial dominance. For BRICS Plus, ambition to reduce reliance on dollar brings with a profound challenge, especially in the energy sector. Several BRICS Plus members, such as Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, are among the world's largest oil producer, giving the coalition a leverage in global energy markets. However, breaking free from the dollar-dominated trade system is easier said than done. The dollar's liquidity, stability in the international market, and deep integration into a global financial infrastructure make it difficult to replace. Effort to place oil and gas into a local currency such as the yuan, ruble, or rupee, including currency volatility and the lack of trust, an alternative to the dollar. China, for instance, has promoted the use of petro-yuan in energy transaction with Russia and the Middle East, but the yuan's capital control limits its attractiveness. Similarly, nations like Iran have explored barter currency swap, but these remain workaround rather than the systemic solution. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia, central to the OPEC and BRICS Plus, must balance its long-standing partnership with the US against the coalition's push for de-dollarization, further complicating BRICS Plus energy strategy. In the coming year, the success of BRICS Plus in reshaping energy trade will depend on its ability to build trust in non-dollar currencies, aligning energy policies across its divergent members, and creating alternative financial infrastructure that can compete with the dollar-based system. Until then, the dollar dominance in the energy market will remain a formidable obstacle. From its inception, BRIC has positioned itself as a champion for global governance, advocating for greater representation for the emerging markets and key international institutions. At the heart of this agenda lies the coalition frustration with the dominance of Western powers in organizations like the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the United Nations Security Council. Despite contributing significantly to the global economical output, BRICS members remain underrepresented in decision-making process that shapes international financial policies. One of the BRICS' primary goals in redistributing of voting power in the IMF and the World Bank to reflect rise of economies such as China, India, and Brazil. However, the effort to reform these institutions have met with resistance from advanced economies, such as the United States and the European Union, who are reluctant to cede influence. Structural reform within the UN Security Council have proven equally elusive, with BRICS member pushing for inclusion of India and Brazil as a permanent member, a proposal that faces significant political roadblocks. In response to these limitations, BRICS have pursued parallel initiatives. The establishment of new development bank and the contingent reserve agreement reflect the coalition's effort to bypass international institutions and provide alternative financial mechanisms. Yet these initiatives symbolizes the desire for more multipolar financial systems. They have so far fallen short of meaningfully challenging the existing order. The coalition's focus on governance reform align with the broader goal of reshape global norms, emphasizing non-interference in domestic affairs and respect for sovereignty. However, BRICS' ability to present a unified front on these issues is often undermined by internal disagreement, particularly between China and India, and on the scope and the scale of reforms. In the end, BRICS' push for reform reflects both ambition and frustration. Its success will depend on the coalition's capability to maintain internal cohesion while navigating external resistance, creating not only alternative to the currency system but also inclusive for other nations to embrace a new global governance framework. South-to-South cooperation, promoting trade, investment, and development among countries in the global South, is a central pillar of the BRICS Plus agenda. The coalition envisions itself as a platform for strengthening economical ties and reducing a reliance on Western-dominated institutions. However, the path toward meaningful South-to-South cooperation is fraught with challenges. challenges. One of the most significant obstacles is the presence of trade barriers among BRICS Plus members and developing countries more broadly. Despite the shared aspiration for economic and integration, many nations maintain high tariff, import quotas, and regulatory hurdles to protect domestic industries. These barriers restrict intra-coalition trade, limiting the flow of goods and services and hindering economic diversifications. In addition, many BRICS Plus countries carry a high level of external debts, which reduces their capacity to finance development independently and invest in cross-border infrastructure. While China has positioned itself as a key leader in the global south through initiatives like Belt and Road Initiative, this lending has also contributed to a debt accumulation in recipient countries. Several African nations, for example, face mounting debt burdens tied to Chinese infrastructure loans. Despite requests for debtor nations, China has shown reluctance to forgive or restructure these debts, complicating efforts to promote a sustainable cooperation. Another key challenge is an infrastructure gap that continues to impede regional connectivity and trade. Weak transportation network, energy shortage, insufficient digital infrastructure, and insufficient digital infrastructure reduces the potential for economical growth and integration. While the new development bank has provided some support for infrastructure development, limited funding capacity and project bottlenecks have restricted its impact. Ultimately, the future of BRIC Plus and South-to-South cooperation will depend on the coalition's ability to address these systemic issues, overcoming trade barriers, create a sustainable debt solution, and invest in critical infrastructure will be essential for realizing full potential of the cooperation. However, without a greater policy coordination and a willingness to address debt-related tension, BRICS Plus risks falling short of its ambition to reshape the Global South's economic future. The future of BRICS hinges on the coalition's ability to deliver tangible outcome while navigating complex geopolitical, economic, and regional tension that comes with expansion. With its 11-member framework, the BRICS Plus has the potential to become a major force in shaping multipolar world order. However, the success will depend on whether the coalition can maintain internal cohesion and build functioning cooperation mechanism in the face of significant challenges. One of the primary uncertainty facing BRICS Plus is the ability to manage diverging interests among its members. Each nation brings distinct policies and economical priorities. China's ambition for regional dominance, India's focus on strategic autonomy, Russia's post-war economical struggles make it difficult to align around a cohesive strategy. Newly admitted members such as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Iran further complicate diplomacy with their conflicting regional agenda, particularly in the Middle East. For BRICS Plus to succeed, it must balance these competing interests without alienating key stakeholders. Economical interests will also be critical, but the coalition faces logistical and structural obstacles. Efforts to reduce dependencies on the US dollar are constrained by limited currency, interoperability, and mistrust in the alternative financial system. Additionally, intra-coalition trade remains underdeveloped, hampered by regional barriers and infrastructure difficulties that limits the seamless economical cooperation. Expanding the new development bank roles and enhances projects pipeline will be necessary to finance sustainable growth across member states. Geopolitical tension will further test BRICS unity. The coalition's stance on global governance reform, while symbolically powerful, faces a resistance from entrenched Western powers. Unless BRICS Plus can demonstrate a real progress on key initiatives, the risk remains that it will remain a coalition of rhetoric rather than a transformative global force. Ultimately, the BRICS success will depend on whether it can institutionalize cooperation, build trust among its members, and deliver economical benefit that justifies the challenge of expansion. If the coalition can overcome its internal division and present a unified vision for the global change, the BRICS Plus could emerge as a leading force in the 21st century. However, without a greater coordination and particular outcomes, it risks becoming an ambitious but a fragmented alliance, unable to achieve its full potential. The story of BRICS is of ambition, complexity, and potential. In other words, in a world marked by power dynamics and growing geopolitical tension, this coalition offers a glimpse of what a multipolar future looks like, one where emerging economies have a real voice in shaping a global governance. With this expanded membership, BRICS Plus has strengthened its economical clout, widened its reach, but it now faces a daunting task of managing internal differences while delivering concrete results. The challenges are significant: structural trade barriers, regional rivalries, currency coordination issues, and geopolitical tensions, but so are the opportunities. If BRICS Plus can harness the strength of its members, advance its reform agenda, and build on infrastructure for sustainable economical cooperation, it has the potential to reshape the global financial system and become a transformative force for the global South. Whether BRICS Plus will succeed or falter will depend on not just on political will, but also on its ability to innovate, adapt, and execute. In the end, the coalition must prove that it's more than a symbol of discontent with the current order. It must offer a real alternative that benefits not just the member nation, but also the world at large. We've taken you a deep dive into a history and evolution and the future of BRICS Plus. Now it's your turn to join the conversation. What do you think? Can BRICS Plus overcome its challenges and transform the global order, or will it struggle to meet expectations? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and share your insights. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more in-depth analysis of geopolitical affairs and economical trends. The future is unfolding. Be a part of the dialogue that shapes it.